So the video came up on my recommended, and it got me thinking. But first, let's get some context.
What's your favorite food?
Not pizza.
I'm asking you what your favorite food is.
I don't know really. Maybe I like fried chicken a lot.
Ah, Shikken.
For fuck's sake.
Okay, so this video is mainly on the pronunciation of chicken and chicken, and more on why people of Latin descent mispronounce it. But Mousy does try to come up with a few ways to explain it herself. Let me see here. Here's one point that I think is in the right direction. Maybe not explained the best, but here we go.
I don't lie.
Lie.
It's not all the time on purpose. It's just laziness.
But you're going out of your way to make the word more difficult. How does
Not really. It's not really going out of our way to make it more difficult. It's just kind of the way we pronounce it, and a lot of people who speak Spanish as first language might pronounce it, as she kind of mentions here a little bit.
no one else is dumb enough to say chicken?
Oh, you think no one has ever said chicken? Chicken?
Not intentionally. That would
Are
be.
you sure about that?
I'm sure. I welcome your
You're
proof.
incorrect.
All right, show me proof that I'm incorrect.
Okay. I'll show you proof when my mom's awake.
Yes, and I can attest to this. When I first watched this video, I did call up my mom and I asked her to pronounce chicken in English. Just so you know, she's Mexican, primarily speaks Spanish, does know a little bit of English after like 30 years here in the States. So she can speak English, but she still has that heavy accent. And yes, she says chicken, not chicken. And then there's another little bit more ahead. She does talk about ESL.
They must have taught you fucking salmon. Well,
Yes, they teach it to me, but they're not gonna like the way I pronounce words. That's how I've been pronouncing shit like my whole life when I was learning English.
I have heard you say chicken.
So yes, if you've never taken ESL, you might not know this. Or even if you have, maybe your experience was different. But growing up, when I was learning English, I did have to go to ESL like in first and second grade. And what they're doing is they're getting you like up to speed into understanding the language. They're not focusing on your pronunciation as hard. It's mostly just, do you understand the language? Can you do the work? Yes. Okay, you're good. So if you mispronounce, chicken as chicken or anything else, they're likely not going to correct you, or they won't put an emphasis on correcting you. Maybe if you say salmon instead of salmon, they might say something, but otherwise, as long as you got a grasp on the language, they did their job. So yeah, that might be why like bad habits on pronunciation stuck, especially for me. Like I'm already over 30, and it's still every now and then I'll mispronounce a word just because I'll just go back to how I originally said it for like a good portion of my life. Habits stick. So yes, and then there's a few more areas. Where was it? Right here, I believe.
A week ago, you said chicken, right?
And I just said it's when I pronounce it like that, it's out of pure laziness because my brain isn't even running on normal English.
Yes, exactly. When we're talking fast and we're just like, especially when we're talking with someone we're comfortable with and not someone we're trying to impress, like at a job interview or anywhere that your appearance and presentation and everything matter. We resort back to those old habits of how we pronounced words when we were younger and when we were learning, and when we were never corrected for 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years. No one corrected us, so it kind of just grew, and then eventually, maybe out of your own interest, or maybe you had that one teacher who was just very anal about it, then yes, we focused on it. Otherwise, no. And then there's one last thing she does mention that is also very important to why we speak the way we do. Things around
The
here.
way that my parents speak like that,
Yeah,
because they're not native
you're playing
English
the parents card
speakers.
to
There you go. Yep. So our parents who are not native English speakers. So this really only applies to anyone whose parents immigrated here from, Mexico, Puerto Rico, like Mousy's parents most likely, or uh, you know, any other Latin American, Honduras, El Salvador, wherever. If your parents immigrated here to the United States, then they only really spoke Spanish to you at home. And even if you were learning English in school, at home you were speaking Spanish. And if you learned a word in English that you didn't know the equivalent in Spanish, you would say it in Spanish. If that kind, I know that doesn't really make much sense, but you would say the English word with a Spanish accent, much like how they'll say English words. Yeah, yeah. And then that kind of gets ingrained as well, because as your parents eventually start learning English, they'll learn it wrong with mispronunciations, and you'll start speaking with those mispronunciations. You might try to correct them, but it's a lost cause a lot of the time. They're not going to change it, much like you probably won't. So yeah, that's kind of why. And I guess to add more to why those accents, or at least in Shikken, exist, it's you in Spanish, the I sound from chicken does not exist. We have and we have e, but there's no I. So the I sound is closer to the sound, like in cheque, which is check, instead of chico, like small. So we'll say it closer to cheque, and that's why it's chicken, instead of chico, which is chicken, which you might hear sometimes too. You might hear someone who's barely learning English, they'll say chicken instead of chicken because the I doesn't exist. And that's true for a lot of the words that you might see them struggle to say. It's not that it's not that they want to say it bad. It's just that when they read it, how they learn to read, they learn that in A it's ah, it's always ah. Um, an E is I is e, O is o, and U is oo, and that's it. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. See ya.